There's a sentence people like to say as a kind of inspiration. Live every day like it's your last. Tomorrow isn't promised. They print it on posters, put it in songs, use it as a caption under pictures of sunsets and coffee cups. It sounds dramatic, almost romantic, until life forces you to understand it in a way you never wanted. Tomorrow isn't promised, for real. Not as a slogan, not as a motivational quote, as a fact. But doctor says a word you can't unhear. A phone rings at an hour when phones shouldn't ring. A car doesn't arrive when it should. A body fails in a way you thought only happened to other people. And suddenly, we'll see tomorrow doesn't feel like a safe sentence anymore. At Christmas, this truth hits harder, because Christmas is built on the assumption of continuity. See you next year. We do this every year. Same time, same place, same people. We hang traditions on the calendar like ornaments, assuming the branch will still be there to hold them. That life cuts off a branch, or threatens to, and you sit in a room lit by fairy lights, hearing people talk about plans and future holidays, and all you can think is, you're all talking like tomorrow's guaranteed. It isn't. I know that now. Once that knowledge gets under your skin, it changes how you move through the season. You can't look at a Christmas table without thinking, who at this table may not be here next year? You can't watch someone you love laugh without thinking, if I had known last year what I know now, would I have paid more attention? You can't hear the words next Christmas without a flicker of anxiety. Psychology talks about mortality awareness, existential anxiety. Words that sound clinical until you're the one lying awake at 3 a.m., staring into the dark. Feeling the weight of how fragile everything is? You look back at all the times you said, later. Later I'll call. Later I'll visit. Later I'll say I'm sorry. Later I'll explain why I reacted like that. Later we'll take a real holiday. Later we'll have that talk. You built a whole emotional economy on later. But when tomorrow isn't promised, later starts to feel like a lie you didn't know you were telling. You might start replaying small, ordinary moments with new eyes. That last lazy afternoon on the sofa when you scrolled on your phone instead of looking up at them while they told a story. That last argument over something stupid where you slammed a door instead of saying, I'm scared underneath all this. That last Christmas when you thought, I'm too tired for this, instead of noticing the way they carefully wrapped each gift or the way they sang along to the same song every year. You're not doing this to torture yourself, even if it feels that way. You're trying to understand how to live now under this new rule. No one owes you tomorrow. For some people, this realization makes them frantic. They try to cram meaning into every second, force every day to be special, say yes to everything, stay up too late, overspend, overcommit, terrified of wasting any moment. For others, the same realization makes them numb. What's the point? If it can all disappear, why bother decorating the tree? Why cook? Why plan? Why open my heart again? Most of us swing between those two extremes. One day you're booking dinners, video calls, making lists, desperate not to miss a chance. The next day, you're staring at the ceiling, feeling like time is a tide you can't control anyway. When tomorrow isn't promised, Christmas changes from a countdown to a spotlight. It throws light on everything you postponed. The conversation you never had with your father because you both avoided anything real. The way you never told your mother you actually noticed all the small ways she sacrificed for you. The way you never apologized properly to the friend you silently drifted away from. The way you never admitted to yourself how much you were taking a partner for granted. Now with absence or the threat of it hanging in the air, it's like all those unsaid things stand up and look at you. So what do you do with that? You can't go back. You can't rewrite last Christmas. You can't plant new memories in years that have already passed. But you can do something with this Christmas. Not everything, not perfectly, not in some movie-style transformation where everyone hugs and cries and all issues are solved in one dinner. Just something. When tomorrow isn't promised, I'll tell them someday, quietly turns into, I'll tell them now, even if my voice shakes. You might send the message you've been putting off. You might make the call you've been avoiding. You might sit down next to someone and say, I know we have our problems, but I don't want to pretend they don't exist anymore. You might also decide not to waste more time trying to change people who don't want to change. Because tomorrow isn't promised also means you don't have infinite days to pour yourself into black holes. You begin to see painfully clearly where your time and heart have been going. The way you've repeated the same argument with someone for years, hoping somehow the ending would be different. The way you've chased approval from people who never seemed capable of giving it. The way you've held back love from people who actually showed up for you because you were too busy trying to prove something to someone else. In that light, the fear of not having a tomorrow becomes a kind of harsh teacher. It asks, if this were one of your last Christmases with this person, how would you want to spend it? And then, even more uncomfortably, if this were one of your last Christmases with yourself, what parts of you do you not want to leave unseen, unlived, unspoken? Because it's not only other people whose tomorrows aren't guaranteed, it's yours. We're good at pretending that applies to everybody else, not us. You can picture losing them. You have a much harder time picturing them losing you. Yet the fragility runs both ways. There are things only you can say, only you can give, only you can create in the shape of your life. When tomorrow isn't promised, you start asking, what would I regret not leaving behind? Whose life would feel emptier if I never said what I really feel? Which parts of myself have I kept in storage, waiting for some right time that might never come? None of this means you should live in a constant panic. That has its own cost. Anxiety can steal the very present you're trying to protect. It means this: you do not have the luxury of assuming later will always be there to fix what you're afraid to touch now. So you work in small, human-sized pieces. You say, I love you, without dressing it up as a joke. You say, I'm sorry, I was wrong, before you're fully comfortable. You say, can we talk? I don't want to leave this like it is, instead of waiting for the other person to always make the first move. You look at the people around your table, or on your phone screen, and you let yourself feel how vulnerable they are. Not to scare yourself, to wake up to the fact that this is real, and it's happening now, and these faces will not always be here. You also look at the people who are not there, the ones you have already lost, the ones whose tomorrows ran out before you were ready. The grief you feel for them at Christmas is not proof that you failed. It's proof that they mattered. But you can let that grief teach you something about the way you treat the living. You might think, if I could go back, I would talk more, listen more, hug longer, argue less about stupid things, ask more questions, take more photos, waste less time being proud. You can't go back. You can go sideways into now. You can look at someone who is still breathing in front of you and decide to do with them what you wish you'd done before with the ones you lost. Ask them about their childhood. Ask them what they're afraid of. Ask them what Christmas meant to them growing up. Ask them what they never get to talk about because everyone assumes they're fine. When tomorrow isn't promised, you understand that you don't have infinite chances to know people beyond their surface roles. She is not just mom, aunt, sister. He is not just dad, uncle, brother, grandfather. They are not just the friend who's always there. They're entire stories, walking around in bodies that will one day stop. You begin to see time differently, too. You might not need to live every day like it's your last, in the sense of constant intensity. That's not sustainable and not necessary. Maybe it's more like this. Live this day in a way that if something shifted unexpectedly, you wouldn't drown in, I never told them, I never tried, I never showed up. That might mean fewer grand gestures and more small consistencies. Sending the message to check in, showing up to the thing you said you'd show up to, listening fully once in a while instead of half listening while scrolling, letting yourself say, I'm scared to someone you trust instead of pretending you're above fear. Because when tomorrow isn't promised is not just about death. It's about unpredictability. Relationships can break. Health can fail. Jobs can vanish. Countries can change. Bridges can burn. Sometimes because of choices you make, and sometimes because of things you can't control. All you ever really hold is the way you behaved in the time you had. At Christmas, where everything is wrapped in stories about birth and hope and light, it can feel almost wrong to sit with thoughts of endings, loss, and uncertainty. But actually, this is one of the few times of year when people pause long enough to notice their own lives. You look around, you take stock, you feel the weight of who is missing and who remains. You light candles, not just to be pretty, but because they're one of the oldest human symbols we have. Light in the dark, fragile and temporary and real. Maybe this year, as you see a flame flicker, you let yourself quietly say, I know tomorrow isn't promised. For you, for me, any of us. I hate that. And I also don't want to live as if I have endless time to be distant, numb, silent. That doesn't mean you rush out and fix every relationship. Some cannot be fixed. Some shouldn't be. Some are unsafe. Some are better left in the past. It means you don't wait forever to love the people it's still safe to love. You don't wait forever to be honest with yourself about what matters to you. You don't wait forever to admit that you are afraid, and that fear is part of being human, not a failure. Tomorrow isn't promised is not a command to be perfect. It's a reminder that the only time you can actually touch, speak, choose, change, or show up is now. This breath, this conversation, this Christmas. Not the fictional version of yourself who will be wiser next year. The you who exists today, with all your mess and your regret and your aching heart and your fear. You can carry your grief for the ones who didn't get it tomorrow. You can let that grief soften you toward the ones who still do. And when you lie awake at night and feel the weight of uncertainty pressing on your chest, the thought that nothing, no one, not even you, is guaranteed another sunrise, you can tell yourself quietly, yes, tomorrow isn't promised. That's terrifying. It also means this moment matters more than I was taught to believe. I can't control the length of my life or anyone else's, but I can decide right now to live this part of it in a way I wouldn't be ashamed of if there were fewer tomorrows than I hoped. The lights will come down. The year will turn. People will go back to their routines and their assumptions. You will still know what you know. That knowledge will hurt sometimes. It may never stop hurting entirely, but it can also be the thing that nudges you again and again toward what is real. The text you send instead of just thinking about. The apology you make instead of rehearsing in your head. The I love you say aloud instead of only feeling it. The way you show up, flawed and afraid, but present, for the people you care about. This Christmas, and on all the ordinary days that don't have a name on the calendar but count just as much.